Hello, everyone. It's Storm Schoonover. I hope that everybody had a wonderful break and you're ready to get back into the swing of things. Today, we're going to be looking at school-based leadership teams and their use in implementing professional development initiatives. The title of the article was called Impact of School-Based Leadership Teams for Implementing a Successful Professional Development Initiative. It was completed by Stuart Yeager and Robert Yeager. Often teachers are less than enthusiastic about professional development days in their schools. While the information can be valuable, the lack of implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of the concepts or initiatives introduced on these days can cause for decreased teacher buy-in for the initiative, especially if there has been a trend of new initiatives every few years with little monitoring. Additionally, lack of leadership involvement in professional development days can augment the feeling of isolation and autonomy in the school culture. We don't want to be people in the bottom right corner. In introducing this topic, the researchers found that in order to transform schools and improve student success, teachers need training and professional development. Professional development is key. Professional development is key to school transformation and is dependent on the relationship between the teachers and school leadership. One way to ensure that teachers and principals have a successful relationship is through implementation of school-based leadership teams in order to distribute leadership practices and increase collaborative learning. These teams, made up of the administration and selected teachers, work collaboratively in order to increase implementation and success of professional development initiatives, in order to align staff and increase accuracy of feedback, monitoring, and staff collaboration. Distributed leadership through the use of school-based leadership teams have many positive effects when planning time is intentional to create collaborative work time for teachers. Additionally, this enhances faculty awareness of initiatives, resulting in more positive reactions to training, which is key to success of any professional development initiative. Creation of a collaborative learning environment where principals and teachers work together helps to create a positive school-wide climate and school culture built on a common language, beliefs, values, and standard of excellence. This distributed framework is key to improve school effectiveness. The researchers had two guiding research questions. One, how will the depth of implementation of a professional development initiative be impacted by a school-based leadership team prepared to support and monitor the initiative? And two, what differences can be found in the perceptions of the depth of implementation of a professional development initiative between teachers and school-based leadership team members who have not been given preparation to support and monitor the initiative compared to teams that have not been provided such preparation. This qualitative study is looking to determine the actual and perceived depth of implementation of the school-wide professional development initiative over 6 years in 4 elementary schools. The professional development initiative used the school learning model class, connecting learning assures successful students. They used purposive sampling to identify 4 schools from a pool of 75 that were similar in size and socioeconomic status after interviews with principals and classroom observations were conducted. In preparation of the study, every teacher attended a week-long workshop on the class model, and there was additional quarterly coaching sessions each fall. The 4th and 5th grades were selected for the study in these schools because they were at the same level of implementation of the initiative, and there were 3 sections of 4th and 3 sections of 5th at each school. They used interview and classroom observation forms to establish pre-test scores. Additionally, the school-based leadership team was selected at each school, and it was comprised of 5 teachers. These teachers met weekly with the principal of each school for 30 minutes the month before the study started, and the school-based leadership team then shared the information with the rest of the school. They were allotted a minimum of 30 minutes with each grade level to discuss the implementation of the class initiative. There was a treatment group and a control group. In the treatment group, the treatment group was comprised of two schools. There were two schools that provided the school-based leadership team with information to prepare them to evaluate, monitor, and support the class initiative. There was no preparation for the control group school-based leadership team. Data was collected in the spring of each school year. The researchers used 3 tools. Each tool had a 4-point Likert instrument. They used observation and interviews, and each school-based leadership team member was interviewed. The answers were scored using rubrics provided by the leaders of the professional development initiative. In order to understand how the information was gathered and reported, it's important to look at a little bit of statistics information that's covered in Chapter 12 and Chapter 13 of our text. The definition of mean is the arithmetic average of all scores. You add up all the scores and then you divide by the total number of scores to give you the mean. It is the preferred measure of central tendency. Looking at range is the difference between the highest and lowest score in a distribution, and it's a quick estimate of variability of any particular sample. Variance works at the amount of spread among scores, so a small variance means the scores are close together, while a large variance means the scores are more spread out. The correlational coefficient is the measure of the relationship, and this is the degree to which two sets of scores are related. You look at two sets of scores from one group of participants, and two variables are highly related if the coefficient is near +1 or -1, and two variables are not related if the coefficient is near 0. In Chapter 13, inferential statistics was covered. Inferential statistics are data analysis techniques for determining how likely it is that the results from the sample are the same results that would have been obtained for the entire population. It generalizes to an entire population of individuals based off of the findings from a sample population, and it answers the question, how likely is it? How likely is it the sample population is representative of the whole? In order to do this, there needs to be some analysis of sampling error, which is the expected chance variation among means in a sample. This leads us to hypothesis testing. Hypothesis testing is the evaluation of results against expectations. To reject the null hypothesis, and the null hypothesis is that there's no meaningful difference, only those due to sampling error. In favor of research hypothesis, the groups are meaningfully different. One treatment is more effective than the other. If the null hypothesis can be rejected, so there's meaningful difference that is not just the result of sampling error, then the research hypothesis is supported. Chapter 13 also covered the t-test. This is a test of significance to determine the likelihood that the results from the test are just from chance. The level of significance is known as alpha. The smaller the probability level, the less likely the findings occurred by chance. The t-test is used to determine whether two groups of scores are significantly different at a selected probability level, and it compares the actual difference between the means of a group with the differences expected by chance if the null hypothesis is true and there is no difference between the groups. The ratio of the actual to expected values is referred to as the t-value. If a t-value is equal to or greater than the predetermined significance level, the level just from chance, then the null hypothesis is rejected and the research hypothesis is supported. The researchers use, this is an example of the tools that the researchers use for the observation form and the teacher interview form. There was a number of questions related to the professional development initiative and the implementation of the initiative, and they were judged using a 1, 2, 3, 4 Likert scale. The interview questions were measured using, or looked at, the observation form measured the depth of implementation using a 4-point rubric. The inter-rater agreement was calculated using Cohen's kappa coefficient with K equaling 0.67, which showed a strong inter-rater reliability, so raters who were reporting reliable information. The t-test for the independent samples were applied to pre-test scores, and there was no significant difference between the control and treatment groups. It's important to know where they started so they can then analyze the post-test scores more effectively. The effectiveness of the experiment was also assessed by using t-tests on post-test scores, which occurred in the spring of each year following the initial pre-test. Each of the forms that were used were analyzed using convex alpha values. The observation form was at 0.72, the teacher interview form at 0.75, and the perception interview form at 0.81. And based off of our little graph, we can see that all of those alpha values are good for indicating good internal consistency. And, looking at our results, our t-test alpha value was at 0.01. We know that it was reliable information. The teacher content knowledge regarding the class initiative would be impacted positively with school-based leadership team experiences in supporting and monitoring the outcomes of the initiative. The survey results were significantly different from teachers who work with an experienced school-based leadership team person as compared to teachers who worked with a school-based leadership team who had not been assisted. So there's a significant difference and more than just sampling error that supports the idea that experience or school-based leadership teams with additional support and monitoring help teachers implement and improve content knowledge. Secondly, the depth of implementation on teacher observations was analyzed over the 4 years. Teacher behavior using specific techniques from the class initiative was positively impacted with the school-based leadership team preparation in support and monitoring the outcomes of the initiative. There's significant difference between the control group and the group or the school-based leadership team group that was trained at nearly a full Likert point. Perception of the teachers regarding their own depth of implementation of class initiatives who work with an informed school-based leadership team was aligned with the perceptions of the school-based leadership team regarding the depth of implementation by the teachers. The difference was not significant, which shows that there was accurate monitoring and accurate evaluation of what was occurring in the classrooms of the teachers. The school-based leadership team was effectively monitoring the implementation of the professional development initiative. The last set of results looked at the perceptions for the depth of implementation from the teams that did not have school-based leadership training. The perception of the teachers regarding their own depth of implementation of the initiative who work with a school-based leadership team that had not been trained was not aligned with the perceptions of the school-based leadership team regarding the depth of implementation by the teachers. Which leads to the implications and recommendations from our researchers. In order for successful implementation of professional development, leadership preparation is necessary. School leaders directly influence other teachers, motivate other teachers, and are responsible for the development of best practices in the school environment. In order to sustain a professional development initiative, school-based leadership teams need to be allowed time and training to successfully monitor and support teachers in their schools. Reversing the common culture of isolation and individuality with the use of distributed leadership frameworks and school-based leadership teams increases the success of initiative implementation. Our researchers were able to answer their research questions then, and their hypothesis could be supported. The depth of implementation of an initiative is increased when a school-based leadership team is prepared to monitor and support the initiative. When the school-based leadership team is engaged in accurate monitoring of the initiative, implementation is aligned, so the actual and the perceived implementation is consistent. Holistic professional learning, where the teachers and the leadership learn together, will increase implementation of initiatives and student success. And a lot of that indicates that the distributive leadership framework was successful, especially in these schools. Teacher perception of individuals not being committed and isolated leadership indicates less engagement and follow through with the implementation of the professional development initiative, which kind of goes back to what we were talking about, what I was talking to at the very beginning. Teachers are not going to be as committed if they feel isolated in their classrooms and there is a feeling of autonomy. When a school culture is created of collaboration, there's going to be much better follow through with implementation of the professional development measures. The researchers outlined additional research was needed in areas of leadership distribution and the impact on implementation of professional development initiatives. I hope that everybody has a great week. Thanks for hanging in there.